Hello and welcome to another episode of the Es Una Final podcast. We have a full house here today. I have Charlie and Michael, both of them with me. We're here to review the first weekend of La Liga games of the 2021-22 season. It's been an exciting week of La Liga games. I think even after Lionel Messi leaving La Liga, it hasn't lost its color. La Liga is back, and we have tons of things to talk about today. We'll go through them game by game. But first of all, welcome to the show, Charlie and Michael.
Thank you. Good to be on.
Yeah, a lot of great things to talk about today. We'll get right to it. We'll start with the opening game of La Liga 2021-22. Valencia defeated Getafe by 1-0. It was the epitome of Bordalás ball, his former team and his current team. And we can probably do a separate episode just about the first 3 minutes of this game. There was a penalty appeal after 23 seconds. There was a sending off after 2 minutes. And then there was, I think, on the 8th minute, when Carlos Soler opened, on the 11th minute, actually, Carlos Soler opened the scoring and got on top of the Pichichi table. So all in all, it was an interesting game. I'll start with Michael on this one. Michael, how was your experience of Bordalás ball 2021-22?
I feel like you kind of summed it up in the fact there was just an immediate penalty repeal, and the tackle for the red card came after 31 seconds, and he didn't get sent off till 3 minutes. So you'd had 3 minutes of the match, and it only been 31 seconds of in-play action, which just tells you everything you need to know. But I don't know. I thought Valencia did pretty well with 10 men. They got their penalty, which was, as you'd expect it to be. But Getafe didn't really kind of do much of all the possession they had. And, maybe Valencia might have given in if they were under Javi Gracia, of course, which is big, what if. But, other than that, I just think it's just kind of a really good example of how, game state can influence, data from a game. Because I saw that I put a post out saying, they've had, 4 shots and 26 fouls, but that was all kind of influenced by the fact that Valencia had 10 men. Obviously, Bordalás is still important, but it was just one of those sort of grinders, I guess.
Yeah. I haven't followed Michel after he left Malaga. The last Michel game I remember is on when Real Madrid won the league on the last day in 2017. I think Michel was the Malaga captain at that time, and some people were suggesting that since he's a Real Madrid legend, he's gonna let Real Madrid win, the regular stuff. But interestingly, Getafe had 74% possession in this game, and Valencia had 26%. Obviously, Getafe's red card was, I think, in the second half, in the 76 minutes, as I see it. So obviously, Valencia had to play a large chunk of the game with 10 men. But what else did you notice in this game, Charlie, from Getafe and Valencia?
Well, first of all, just on point-blank range, I was absolutely stunned to see Getafe get 74 possession, like you said. I mean, that unreal to me. I mean, never seen that before. That was just crazy. I mean, obviously it's not Bordalás ball; it's Michel ball at this point. But all I've known of Getafe has been Bordalás, so that was just new. I was really disappointed about Hugo Guillamón getting sent off 30 seconds into the match because he played in midfield just a few times last season, and I really wanted to see how he'd do there. Unfortunately, he had one touch in the entire match, and that was on an opponent. That sent off. Other than that, though, I mean, it was the typical Valencia-Getafe match. I mean, I don't know what it is between these two teams. Well, I do now for this game with Bordalás leaving all that. But in the past season, I mean, this game has always brought such emotions out of these players. And previously, I don't know what it was, but it's so much fun. It's so reckless. It's like a Copa America match. I mean, it's South American football, what you're seeing. It's they go for each other's legs and all that. It's fantastic. We had 40-some-odd fouls in the match, and 9 yellow cards, I believe, and 2 red cards. It's perfect. That was the perfect way to get the weekend off. I mean, You can't sum it up with more than just it was pure physical football, and you just need some games like that. When La Liga is known for being the most technical league, it's so organized and all that, and then you get a game like this. It's good to have some variety.
Yeah. I want to see like some sort of totals of how much the ball was actually in play. Because I bet it's under 45 minutes. It will be well under 45 minutes. But the other thing I kind of noticed was just his halfway kind of, they kind of used kind of back five, which was quite interesting. I don't know if they'll stick with that in the long term or whether they kind of use that to kind of break down Bordalas's 4-4-2. That might become something to keep an eye on, I guess. It might see the kind of. It seems like a 5-back or a 3-5-2 would be the best way to get out of players, like sort of get the best out of Cucurella, sort of. He's not as a kind of fullback really, or like a left midfielder. He's a bit more of a dynamic wing back, but I think that's something to keep an eye on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Charlie, please.
Kabako, still pretty crap. Still, his positioning is off. His tackling and reflex time is off. I mean, I believe he's the one who gave away the penalty, correct? Or was he the one who made the mistake that gave away the penalty? I don't know. It's one of those two. They need to bring someone in or just play a four at the back and get him out. He's good enough to be your third center back, but as a starter, I don't think he's the man for Getafe, especially on the ball. Michel, as we see, he likes to play a bit of possession. That was obviously influenced by the red card, but yeah, I don't think he is their best route to getting the best out of this squad. I think either you convert one of your holding midfielders down to play in a more progressive center back role, or you need to find someone else because he's just not it.
I see. All right. We can move to the next game, Cadiz Levante. It was pretty much highlighted by Morales' astonishing strike. Well, he only scores golazos, so I wasn't surprised that he scored another one. But overall, how do you think? How do you guys think the game shaped up? Cadiz obviously scored really late, but do you think Levante was solid enough throughout the game? Again, starting with Michael, what did you make of Levante's game? And I'm specifically asking about Levante because Real Madrid faces Levante next. So, yeah, there's a little bit of bias towards them right now.
Yeah, I thought when you're playing Cadiz, they just don't really do much other than kind of sitting back, which sounds bad, but it's just the way they play, which is fine. So the onus was on Levante, and I thought they did quite well, and they created enough chances to score. I quite like the dynamic between Soldado and Morales before Soldado went off injured, which was pretty unlucky. The only other thing I'd add is that it just feels quite indicative of their issues. Like they hold the 1-0 lead for so long, and then a ball comes in from the right-hand flank and it bounces off a Levante player and the Cadiz player gets a second ball, and it's just not a sloppy goal to concede, but it's quite underwhelming, and it just feels like indicative of their issues last season that they started. So they used to start games so well and they concede late or through mistakes or something. And other than that, I guess, I don't know, it just feels they're still not quite there almost.
I see. Charlie, what did you make of the game? Anything specific from either team, and especially how Michael mentioned how they conceded the goal? Do you think that was a very Cadiz goal in general? Your take on that?
Yeah, a big thing for Cadiz was getting off to a great start in La Liga last season and kind of just coasting off of that because they picked up a bunch of points early and then they dipped in form quite a bit and just rode it out as they'd already kind of passed your 38-point line or so for avoiding relegation. So at least a point here against Levante was big for them. But I think the biggest key for Levante in this match was Jose Campagna. It's awesome to have him back because he's such a great creative threat from deep. He was their pretty much sole creator on the field. Obviously, you have Roberto Soldado and Jose Luis Morales going forward, and that are great in and around the penalty area. But you need someone who's distributive, because we saw Jorge de Frutos. He didn't do much in the match.
Yeah,
I don't believe he had any real influence on the final third. He was great off the dribble and things like that, but he just didn't get on the ball too much. And Jose Campagna had to dictate pretty much everything. He was, I believe, their lead key passer, their lead progressive passer, their lead getting balls in the final third. I believe he headed up their expected assists as well. I mean, it's very indicative of how their season will go if they continue to rely on him. Obviously, it's just the first match of the season, and things will change, and Espardi will be back. I believe he came on late, and he'll be back as another creative threat from midfield. But they will not be able to rely solely on Jose Campagna again, especially he's got some sort of injury issues that he's had in the past. If those rise up again, but he's obviously a fantastic, fantastic player and very well could leave them soon enough within the next season or anything like that. They just got to cut the reliance on him a little bit.
I see. All right. We can move towards the next two games. Mallorca, Betis, and Osasuna Espanyol. Both of them were draws. Mallorca and Betis drew 1-1, and Osasuna and Espanyol ended in a goalless draw. Starting with Mallorca and Betis, first of all, I would like to mention, I loved how Mallorca opened their scoring. Like, no one had any idea that Olivan just breezed through them and picked out the perfect pass. It was like almost seeing Lionel Messi and Jordi Alba in operating on that left hand side, and it was a cool finish in the end as well. But in the end, they conceded back as well. It ended up in a 1-1 draw. Kubo did not make an appearance in this game. Oh yeah, actually he did. He did in the 61st minute of the game. I did not make anything particular on Kubo. I don't think I saw him much in this game, meaning I didn't finish watching this game. That's why I missed him. But again, I'm going to go back to Michael and Charlie for this. What did you make of the both teams? And especially, we do know that Betis might actually get reinforced significantly in the next coming days. Even how that could impact their shape and team going forward. Let's hear it. I'll start with Michael again. Yeah.
Okay, yes, that's fine. I thought I was pretty impressed with Mallorca. I thought first half they just kind of not dominated, but they just created more chances than Betis, who just were a bit underwhelming. I was quite impressed with Angel up front, making his debut after his move from Getafe. That's just a good signing here. He's got a good proven track record, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on, how much he plays and stuff. But yeah, Betis, I just thought the first half just really underwhelming. I thought the second half they kind of picked up a little bit. They got the kind of own goal, but they never sort of really imposed themselves on the game. I thought that, not that it passed them by, but it felt like an opening game. So it'd be interesting to see how that impacts the rest of the season, really.
All right, Charlie, I'll get to you right about Kubo. For obvious reasons. So yeah, you can definitely go through the game as well. But anything specific you noticed on Kubo?
Not much. I mean, he came on late in the match, didn't impose himself too much, which makes sense given that I believe he had 1 or 2 training sessions with the team. So obviously there was a bit of a disjoint there. So I don't think he didn't really have much of an impact. He got on, I believe he completed less than 10 passes, attempted less than 10 as well. So it wasn't a poor outing from him, but he didn't have any real creative threat, didn't take on any players, didn't move the ball into the penalty area, nothing like that. It was a pretty quiet outing for him. Other than that, I was impressed with Mallorca, how they dealt with Real Betis's pressure while they were holding possession, because Real Betis did hold the ball for the majority of the match. I mean, I believe they had 65% possession. So they were holding possession, but they couldn't do much with it because of Mallorca's defensive rigidity and how uniform they were, which is fantastic by them. That's, I believe, their best chance of staying up. If they can nick goals early and then sit in, use their tight defensive midfield, their little triangle, I believe they played a 4-2-3-1. So getting their double pivot and their attacking midfielder tight to kind of lock down. It was Nabil Fekir. Who else played in midfield for?
Canales, of course.
Yeah, Canales and
Rodrigo Sanchez, I see, and Aitor Ruibal.
Yeah. But either way, Mallorca's double pivot did very well to restrict how much Nabil Fekir could get on the ball and how much all their forwards could get into it. So I was very impressed with that. And I believe we were going to get to talk about Real Betis. They're looking to strengthen their center back position. Obviously, Isamendi left for Villarreal. They're looking to Diego Godin from Cagliari and formerly of Atletico Madrid, of course, to come in on a very, very low transfer fee as he is getting up there in age. I don't see how this works too well for them because, as we saw with Real Betis, they play a very high defensive line. That's how they were taken advantage of on Mallorca's goal. They were just played through because they had such a high line in the left back, ran right down the side and cut through between the center back and the right back. Diego Godin obviously doesn't have that much pace on him. He's not adept to playing with a high defensive line. His recovery pace is not great. I don't see how this one works. I mean, obviously in possession, he's good on the ball and things like that. But defensively speaking, that's not the solidity that you get by bringing Diego Godin. It would be he's excellent, one of the best at defending out of his own penalty area, defending in like a low block. This just doesn't seem the right fit. It just feels like you're trying to bring back a former legend, try and gain some publicity, and maybe milk a season out of him. Obviously, This is Michael's guy. I want to hear his thoughts on this more than anything.
Yeah,
no, I think you're probably right, to be honest. And I don't think this is the type of signing Betis should be going for. Like, sure, Godin's good, but he's 36 years old. He's going to have quite... I think he's not 36. He'll be around that age, but he's going to want not huge wages, but big wages. And there's no chance of ever getting a bigger fee from him in the future, which just doesn't seem like the smartest move for them. I think you're perfectly right about the low block versus high block. I think if you put Godin in Mallorca's team, he probably suits them better if they're going to be sitting back off teams. Or if you put Godin in Cadiz or Elche's team, he's probably going to be better for them because they're just going to be defending crosses from when teams like kind of suffocate their box. That's not kind of what Betis need to do. They need to impose themselves more on games. So in that sense, I think Godin's a mismatch, and on Betis imposing themselves, I think it's just quite indicative they had 0 shots on target in this game and then scored from an own goal. So still a way to go for me with Betis, I think.
All right. Yep, and we'll see if this deal actually materializes in the next few days. The next game on our agenda is Osasuna and Espanyol. I was really excited about Osasuna, especially because the kind of team they've been able to assemble this season. Probably the result of the game became a little bit of anticlimactic, but also I think Espanyol did reasonably well from their perspective, I would say. What are your takes? I'll start with Charlie.
Yeah, I was a tad disappointed from both of these teams because they had so much attacking talent, so much exciting attacking talent, more so than anything. And neither of them failed to make an impact on the game offensively. Obviously, it was a 0-0 draw. And you have players on both sides, like Kike Garcia, Shimi Avila. You've got Raul de Tomas. Lanza Jamada came on late. Wu Lei started for Espanyol. You have all these great attackers. And obviously, it's on both of these teams' defenses for hindering them from creating anything. But this was a game where I expected it to be a 3-3 or a 3-2 or something like that. And genuinely disappointing. Obviously, you get the first match hiccups and things like that, where teams just aren't on form. And Javi Puado obviously didn't start for Espanyol, which was disappointing because he's just an awesome young creative threat. Other than that, I don't have much. I mean, this game failed to really make an impact on me for the weekend. I was really disappointed by that, honestly. Neither team has shot much, which is awesome point from their defensive systems. I mean, Osasuna did have 15 shots, of course, but there was nothing too meaningful coming out of those shots. So, yeah, I'm just disappointed by this game in general. Hopefully these two teams can start to improve off of this performance. Obviously, Espanyol is coming back in their first game in the league, and hopefully they can find their feet under them a little bit and start building up some better form. This is a good result, I feel, for both of them because these teams, I feel like, are very close in quality. So a draw probably was a fair result here.
All right. Michael, your takes?
Yeah, I think pretty much the same. I think, Osasuna didn't really do that much, to be honest, other than and both City, neither did Espanyol, but I don't think it was any teams were bad. I just think they're both pretty well organised. I think Kike had a chance at the 3rd minute or something. It was like a deep cross on the right, and he just hit it wide, which it's quite interesting to see him already getting his headed attempts on goals, which we're sure he'll get tons of. But other than that, I thought Espanyol were pretty solid to this. I wasn't impressed with them, but I was like, well, they're holding their own against a really intense and well organised Osasuna team, who, like Mahdi said, everyone was really excited about Osasuna. So, and I think Raul de Tomas, he had a kind of not one of those chances that XG doesn't register, where it's kind of like if he was a second later or a second earlier, it's a shot. I think it came in for the left wing, and it was kind of an inviting cross, and he nearly got onto it with a diving header. If he gets that, maybe it's a different game. But it just kind of showed to me that Espanyol are one of the best promoted sides we've not seen, but they're just a big club and they're probably going to be all right. It was quite interesting to see Kike starting with Budimir for Osasuna, and then Chimi Avila coming on, which is kind of what we expected, obviously, with Avila, with Chimi's injuries and also his explosivity, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic goes on, as Charlie alluded to.
Yeah, it's also really interesting to see where Kike started, and it was kind of almost a left wing position, which was really, really interesting to me, given that if he continues to play out there, you can play all 3 of Ante Budimir, Kike Garcia, and Chimi Avila all at once, which I didn't think they would try, because playing 3 strikers, obviously they're all different profile players, but trying to fit 3 forwards like that into one squad is incredibly difficult from a managerial standpoint. So if Kike can continue to play on the wing, then I think that's a massive, massive win for us.
Yeah, I guess you could you see it in the sense that maybe out of possession there's still the 4-4-2. So I'd imagine it'd be either Kike or Chimi would drop back into left midfield, and then when they attack, he would join the attacking line. You'd have like a right mid who kind of tucks in, and then you have the fullbacks with the width. So that'd be really, really interesting to see, to be honest, because as you said, it gets over that issue which everyone kind of said was like, oh, they don't need Kike, but I think it'd be pretty neat if they could do that. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. And if they can manage to do that, then it's a problem for the opposition managers, I guess.
Yeah.
To figure out how to contain that, because these 3 players would really bring a different kind of dynamic that's going to be difficult to deal with for opponent managers, I would suppose. All right, so the next 4 games all had results, goals, red cards, and everything, and the top 4 teams potentially: Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Sevilla. We'll talk through it one by one. Starting with the Real Madrid game, so the starting lineup was a big surprise. Charlie and I discussed a little bit. We were dead set that Miguel is going to start on left back, but I think I briefly mentioned that it's not going to be the worst idea to start Nacho and Militao in the center of defense, and then play Alaba on left back. Ancelotti, somehow he read my mind. But in midfield, I was really surprised to see Fede Valverde starting ahead of Isco as well. Not because Valverde doesn't deserve it, because Isco had played a large chunk of the preseason, and supposedly he was again a favorite player of Ancelotti. But Valverde started, which was the right decision. And in the front 3, Benzema was occupied with, Benzema was joined by Bale and Belgium's captain. Oh, so if Michael doesn't know, I don't name Real Madrid's number 7 for a certain reason. I'll start calling him by his name once he scores his next goal. So yeah, that's happening right now. I'm gonna either mention him as Real Madrid's number 7, the Belgian winger, or Belgium's captain, either of the 3. So, but right now, I think this game can be divided into 2 parts. The first half wasn't that good from Real Madrid. Especially there were moments where the defense was not really organized, and the passing seemed a bit stagnated. It was really not going anywhere, and Bale was just trying to shoot from wherever he can. And even on the right, I think Lucas Vasquez and Fede Valverde were getting in each other's way for quite some time, and Vasquez was just not getting his game going. But in the second half, the moment they scored the goal, the entire dynamic of the game changed. And I think that's what you get with quality players. Like, even though Bale probably didn't do much in the entire game or in the first half, when he found that opportunity to cross from the deep, he found Vasquez pretty nicely, and then like Real Madrid's number 7 played a very good flick to Benzema, and he's like, if you give that to Karim Benzema in 2021, he's gonna score. And again, Modric was great with his cross on the second goal as well for Nacho. Real Madrid got the third goal, again, individual brilliance from Fede Valverde. That bursting speed is so very necessary, also combined with his strength, which I think makes him a real asset for this team under Carlo. And the fourth goal was, Alaves were already done and dusted at that point. But the penalty Real Madrid conceded was again, people I think were a bit too harsh on Militao for that, but the thing is, these things are going to happen. This will not make him a bad defender. Real Madrid would still need to count on him because there is no Sergio Ramos and Rafael Varane. So, all in all, I think it was a good start. I saw good things. I'll go through a couple of more tactical things about this game once I hear back from both of you. So again, starting with Michael on this one.
Yeah, I thought. I wasn't expecting Bale, Benzema, and Hazard, but as a front three, I thought it was all right. To be honest, I thought Bale was pretty good in the first half. That was the first half, which is kind of indicative of Real Madrid just not getting going. I thought once things kind of picked up, him and Hazard were pretty neat. To be honest, I thought Hazard looked he was pretty fit, he was pretty nimble, pretty agile and stuff. Was combining well with Benzema, as you'd expect. There's no goal yet, but he's got his assist. It's quite interesting to see Alaba at left back, I guess. Does that rule out the back three? I guess we don't really know if Ancelotti, because he's quite formationally, if that's a word, versatile. So we still could see that, but it was interesting to see him at left back. That's now Real Madrid. I've got 3 really good left backs, so it'd be actually interesting to see how they rotate that. But yeah, other than that, I guess I thought Alaves did pretty well. To be honest, I thought maybe 4-1 was not unfair, but they definitely didn't get smashed. I felt. I was really impressed with Manu Garcia. Actually, I think he just didn't look out of place at all. Which, considering he spent the last few seasons in Segunda, is just really nice to see. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Charlie.
Yeah, my main focus is going to be on Eder Militao, because as a center back myself, who also struggled a lot back in my playing days with being incredibly nervous about playing and making mistakes and things like that, it's very evident that he struggles with the same thing. He feels like there's a lot of pressure on him, which there very well is. I mean, it's tough to take over a back line from 2 of the best center halves in a club's history. So I don't blame him whatsoever for that. There were quite a few issues he had, especially after his mistake, playing the ball back to Thibaut Courtois and forcing the penalty. He had a bunch of issues in possession where he would just take the ball on it and turn back and then realize that was the wrong decision, try and turn out of it, and he'd be forced or closed down by Alaves' forwards. He played a lot of passes straight out of bounds when he was trying to make clearances and things like that. I just hope he can get back to his most confident ways, because that's what he needs more than anything. He's a very, very good player, and this is not a poor performance, I would say, on his standards, but it's more of a confidence issue. It's not about a skill set. David Alaba, I was very happy with. He's like a Marcelo, but defensively reliable, I would say. He gets forward well. His link-up play with Hazard and Luka Modric was very, very good. Like I said, he gets forward very well, but also he's defensively aware of his position in the field, so he can track back well enough, which he did pretty well with, I would say. Much better than what we've seen with Marcelo, who has a great impact in the final third, but just his defensive liability is atrocious and leaves a massive gap. Alaba didn't do as much of that. Granted, he did have Luka Modric on his side, who was helping out with his Energizer Bunny pressure and things like that, so that was very good. I like the way, I know Eddie's going to talk about this much more, but the way the forward line tucked into play kind of as like three strikers, that was very interesting to me. I did not expect that whatsoever. Also, very happy with the lineup. This felt like the fantasized lineup every Real Madrid fan wanted. Like, we didn't think it would happen. Yeah, I mean, I was just surprised Alaba left back, the forward line completely. Isco being out, like you said. My second to final point, I don't understand why anyone was upset with how the first half went for Real Madrid, because the majority of players out there had not had a preseason together. So this was bound to happen with the players not having played together in quite some time. There was bound to be some disjointedness. So I'm just happy that they got it over with by halftime. I was very happy with that, surprisingly, because I thought going into halftime, I was like, oh, crap, this is going to be a really bad performance, and we're going to have to squeeze out a final goal, either a penalty or some Benzema brilliance. So very, very happy with that. And that's about it. I don't think I have anything else to say on. Yeah.
Yep. What Charlie mentioned, like I posted this on Twitter as well. I'll pull out the graphic on the screen. So Ancelotti used to do this a lot with Napoli. In possession, they would build up in a 2-4-4 shape where the two center backs would be the last line, and the midfielders and the wing backs would sometimes at least would sometimes create a line of four, and then a line of four to pin the four defenders, which really enticed me, because specifically on this frame, if you can see, Alaba was not supposed to be here. Like, even if you're that high up the pitch, you'd be outside of Benzema, not like inside of Benzema. But it was evident that Ancelotti is doing this deliberately, and the players are completely aware of this. So like when Alaba saw Nacho on the ball, he was aware that Real Madrid has to form this shape, and he just stayed there, seeing that Benzema was already outside of him. So this seemed a pretty good move from my perspective, because I think once Toni Kroos comes back, the midfield becomes much more reliable, and Real Madrid have had terrible issues trying to break down low blocks. I think this could be one of the solutions, because if you have three quality players on the ball, Alaba is pretty good on the ball, and especially like his assist. I don't think Mendy crosses from there. Mendy just tries to take another touch, cut back, and like tries to pass back from there. But he went for the cross straight away. So he's kind of like the sweet spot between Mendy and Marcelo. One of them is a defensive liability. The other is probably not as sharp in offense. But Alaba gives you that nice balance. So with Alaba, Belgium's captain Benzema, and Bale, even if Real Madrid don't sign a forward right now, I think these are four good players on the ball who can move and drag defenders out of their positions to create some space, which Real Madrid would definitely need in this season, because other than that, it's going to be another like 38 games, not 38 games, like at least 25 to 30 games where teams are just trying to build low blocks and trying to frustrate them. So I think that might change this season. All right, that was everything I had to cover for this game. We can go to Atletico's game next. Again, like a very classic Atletico game. we would say, like, it lasted about 100 minutes. There was action on the pitch, temporarily off the pitch as well. But we don't need to go any further than Michael to take us through this game. So, Michael, what did you see? What did you like? What did you dislike about this game? Talk us through it.
Yeah, I thought it was just a really fun match. Like, it was just really intense, and both teams are just clearly going for it and under those instructions. But I don't want to focus on Celta, but I just want to not shout at Kude, but I felt like this game felt like a really strong reflection of how far they've come under him. I think that they matched Atletico's intensity. They created just as many chances as Atletico, if not more, to be honest. Aspas missed an open goal. Although, he's running away from the goal, so I think it's harder than people are trying to make out. Aspas had a few chances where he's one-on-one with Jimenez/Savic, and just a poor shot or the wrong decision. So, yeah, I was just really impressed by Celta. And just they just looked like they hadn't had a pre-season. I mean, fair enough, most of the players have been there since the 1st of July because they didn't have that many international tournaments, but they just felt like it just continued on from last season, and just really excited to see what's ahead for them. On Atletico, I thought it was quite interesting that, you know, Saul and Carrasco as the wing backs. I'm still not convinced about Carrasco as a kind of right wing back. I feel like he's much more suited to a left wing back role where, you know, he can rotate with Lamar and then he can coincide on his, you know, better foot and stuff. I just prefer him in that sense rather than as the right wing back, where I think, you know, Trippier's ability to get to the byline and cross from deep is just a lot better. I thought Saul was pretty impressive. You know, he's on the team sheet says he plays left wing back, but that's only really in defensive. Like when they're attacking, he often like kind of comes inside and Lamar goes outside. So, but yeah, it's really impressive. Saul, I thought he was just about everywhere, and it's just the kind of game he needed to get his, like, not his career. That's a bit too grandiose, but at least this season and his form. And, you know, seeing him celebrate that assist for Correa was just very heartwarming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
Charlie, if you have anything else to add.
Quickly, I absolutely agree with everything you said about Saul. Great to see him get a good game under his belt. Some of the Atletico fans become a bit more endearing to him, because I know there have been some calling for him to leave, some calling for him to stay. Obviously, there's a bit of turmoil there. I really liked Thomas Lamar in this match. Like you said, Saul would drift in, he would drift wide. I like the interchangeability, because what we've seen a lot of him has been either in a like interior striker winger role. It was cool to see him in a bit more midfield based, a little more centrally interior. That was good. Other than that, I mean, Celta, they've been my favorite team to watch ever since Eduardo Cadet came in. Their verticality is so much fun. I wish more teams played like this. I wish more teams played the wide 4-4-2 diamond like they do. It's just so much fun to watch. I love how much Iago Aspas and Santi Mina drop off and try and receive from the center backs and the fullbacks. I love the way they play. Like Michael said, they need to get a couple games because they just look to get out of it. But I'm happy with what I saw from them to start. I mean, I think that they do need a bit of creativity, because most of their progression and their attack-mindedness was to go to these strikers trying to drop off. And I think they could benefit more by at least having some form of getting in behind, either way it's from the wingers or from one of the strikers at least. I don't know. Just an option. I'm sure they'll sort it out, because Kude is a genius and he'll figure it out. But overall, pretty happy with what I saw. Still think that they can push for a European spot despite what we saw. But yeah, I'm happy with what I saw from both teams. Atletico looked quite dangerous. Rodrigo de Paul had a good cameo. I would give he's going to be fantastic in that role. So yeah, I was happy with what I saw.
Yeah,
Norris, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I meant I was just really impressed with how it didn't look like they were out of depth. They were really intense. They just matched Atletico, and they looked up to speed. That's what I meant. Which I was just really impressed by them. And then just a note about them, just sort of playing through centre backs to get through to the striker. I think, you know, maybe there's something they might want to look at, just playing a 4-4-2 and having someone partner Tapia, someone who could, instead of the centre backs just drift, because obviously what they happen is Tapia drops deep and the centre backs push wide, and then they kind of either carry it or forward, or they play straight to Aspas. It'd be quite interesting to see maybe another deeper midfielder who could offer a bit more ball progression to them to kind of vary up their approach play, I guess. But I'll let Mehdi say what he wants.
Yep, I was impressed by Correa, of course. He scored 2 goals, and this actually goes on to show how Atletico has already, I think, developed a system where they don't need to, rely on Luis Suarez as much, because this game, I don't think Suarez started, right? So without Suarez starting, if they're getting goals like this, and both goals I think were very well constructed goals. They're not set piece goals or something. They were very well constructed goals. So yeah, Correa's performance did impress me. This guy's unlucky that he doesn't get to start for the national team. I think he should start for way more often than what he does right now for the national team. But yeah, all in all, Atletico started well. They started with a win. We can move to Barcelona now. Barcelona's first game post Lionel Messi. The last time they started a season without Lionel Messi was, I think, Valencia were the champions in that season. It's been a long while since that happened. But Barcelona, like, being more impressed with Barcelona, I would not go to that path. I would rather say that I thought Sociedad were awful throughout the game. Like, I think they were the worst team of the first round for me. They did score 2 late goals, but I think their pressing, they defended pretty high, but without enough connection between their defenders. They were getting massacred on the transition, and Barcelona had significant pace in Depay, Braithwaite, Griezmann had a good game as well. I think De Jong had a very good game. So all in all, and I think they scored 4, and Jordi Alba got like a really good chance. It was an offside, but again, it went on to show like how they were just getting massacred on their high line. I wasn't impressed with Sociedad at all. How Barcelona played, I think it was kind of expected that post Messi, this is how they're going to play. They're not probably going to rely on one man because they don't have someone of that caliber to rely upon right now. But from a team game perspective, I think they played well. Pedri was solid, if not exceptional. But yeah, when Barcelona brought in so many young players at once, they kind of got in a spot of bother, conceded 2 goals, and then that was killed off pretty soon from Sergio Roberto as well. All in all, good start for them. I absolutely hate it. What do you guys think?
You want to start, Michael? How about it?
Yeah, sure. I think you're right to pick up on like La Real just being poor. It just feels like pretty good reflection of how they just quite underwhelming against a lot of the big teams last season. Like they obviously had some good games, but they just seem to not get outbeaten. But yeah, there's something there almost that needs to be looked into. I don't know if Charlie has any thoughts on that, but I guess we'll get to that. Just quickly on Barca, I was really impressed with them for about 70 minutes of the game. I thought like the first 30 minutes of the first half and the first 20 minutes of the second half, they just dominated the ball. They just created more chances. They're pretty penetrative, but like they still have those defensive moments where they just like have like oops moments. They just lose control of the game. It's not quite that Guardiola or Cruyff and sort of control. They still let the game. Like they still have those frailties which they still need to cut out. So I guess some things will never change. But yeah, it's just really interesting to see the dynamic between Braithwaite, Depay, and Griezmann. Depay starting centrally rather than Braithwaite as well, which I think is quite interesting. But yeah, I'll hand over to Charlie.
Yeah, first of all, Depay. I love Memphis Depay. I've loved him since he was with Manchester United. It pains me so much to see him in a Barcelona shirt. I love it. He's so good. He plays with such a confidence, like borderline arrogance. He's doing these flicks in midfield and things like that. He did the flick where he stuck his foot out and let it go over his head. So much confidence. I love it. Love to see players like that. He just attracts defenders to him so well. So he's going to be in just a focal point for Barcelona this season. He's my pick for who's going to be their player of the season. Well, obviously it's going to probably be Pedri because he's going to play every minute, but he's going to be their best signing, I should say. That's probably a bit better. Griezmann, I love the way that Barcelona's forward line all mixed and matched around. Griezmann would tuck deep under the forwards to get on the ball in the half space and between the lines, things like that. He would find these pockets of space where he could then manipulate La Real's defense. Braithwaite. I think Braithwaite's going to get like 15-plus goals this season, purely based on he is Barcelona's only striker, and he's going to get so many great chances based on the amount of distribution they have. Jordi Alba can get the ball into the penalty area. Memphis Depay is a great carrier to get the ball into great areas. Griezmann is obviously just a fantastic creator and goal scorer. They've got just so many outlets. Braithwaite, his positioning, I know everyone harps on him, and he's pretty much memeable at this point. As this average player playing in Barcelona, but he's very, very good for what he is, and his ability to get into good positions and his above-average finishing will get him quite a few goals this season. L'Oreal, I was disappointed with them. They were quite poor. To be fair, Barcelona got off to a very, very good start. They started quite hot. I mean, I believe they had a chance within the opening 20 seconds. They set the tone. They pinned L'Oreal in deep, which I think was the biggest point in the game that set the tone. L'Oreal had to defend with 10 men behind the ball pretty much at all times. And the only players in the middle and defensive third for Barcelona were Piqué, Garcia, and Portu, L'Oreal striker. So no matter what happened, whenever L'Oreal got the ball back, their only outlet was Portu, and he was man-marked by two guys. I don't know what they could have – I mean, obviously they could have changed up their tactics, but with what they did, they set themselves up for failure. So that was very, very disappointing to me. People are saying Alexander Isak could have done better. I don't see how. He's obviously his close control is great. His technical skills, but Portu is quite a good player himself, and he was just stifled completely by Barcelona's two center backs. And just trying to receive the ball with Eric Garcia, Gerard Piqué behind you, and Sergio Busquets in front of you is just near impossible. So at least for the first half, I don't blame them too much for not being able to create much, because they were just put in such a horrible situation by Barcelona. By the way, props to Koeman for that. Tactically great. They did make a run late on. I was very disappointed that they couldn't get a third goal before Barcelona made it 4-2, but they threw all their numbers forward, and Barcelona caught them on a counterattack, which I believe they're going to do quite often this season. They have so many players that are great on the counter, Depay being especially. So yeah, I was surprised Barcelona got off to such a hot start, but also, I mean, they're kind of inevitable at this point. They're attacking.
They still have really good players, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we shouldn't undersell them.
yeah. I think everyone thought Lionel Messi leaving would create this massive gap, but I mean, Messi himself was the gap, because everything went through him, and when you start letting all of these other players in the team just pick up the scraps, I mean, you have to defend from all over the pitch. I mean, it's not like Real Madrid where Benzema is your one attacking output source. They have 7 or 8 players that all give forward and are just great in the final third. So they're very, very dangerous, and I look forward to seeing how they do against some more opposition, because from what I've seen, Barcelona always seem to get the best of L'Oreal. No matter what it is, they just always seem to get them. They know they have everything against them. So I'll be interested to see how Barcelona continue on from here.
Yep. So I think a couple of other things I'd like to mention is Griezmann's defensive work rate and positioning is too good for a striker of his stature. I think that is just unbelievable. Like at times, it felt like he is the right back. He is playing at right back for Barcelona. At times it felt like that, and he was playing, severely good at right back. So and I think this has been discussed last season as well, and even in the Euros, I think this is one of the very underrated traits of Griezmann. His defensive work rate is off the charts. It's really great. And as Charlie mentioned, actually, that Sociedad usually at the Camp Nou gets massacred, more often than not. Most probably they'll get massacred when they turn up at the Camp Nou. That is their thing. So, nothing much to add on the Barcelona game. But one thing before moving on from Barcelona is that, so I'd be interested to see how Barcelona, just like Charlie said, that how Barcelona plays against other opponents, because in every season, I feel like there is a period where Barcelona is, digging their own grave, going 1-0, 2-0 down, and boom, there is like a 5-minute blitz from Lionel Messi. He scores 2 assists to Jordi Alba and like someone else, and like Barcelona from being 2-0 down at 60 minutes wins the game 4-2 or 5-2. So I'm going to be interested to see how they dig themselves out in those situations in the season, because how they get into those situations, those elements still, I think those elements are still in their team. So that would be interesting, what they do regarding this.
Also, one final note.
Yeah.
I'm also not crazy convinced with Barcelona, because we saw last season their opening match was against Villarreal, smacked them 4-0. I mean, so they obviously are capable of getting out to hot starts and then cracking down a bit, like you said. So this could be a hiccup. I'm not sure. Obviously, we can't see the future. But yeah, just to keep in mind that they tend to start hot in both their matches and both their seasons.
All right. We got 3 games to talk about. We'll try to get through them quickly. Sevilla also got off to a good start, and like everyone was so disappointed, as me included, that Bryan Gil has left La Liga and Eric Lamela came back. Nothing like against Eric Lamela, but I would rather see Bryan Gil in La Liga than Eric Lamela. But it looks like Eric Lamela kind of took that personally and scored twice on his debut. So yeah, that was good to see. Sevilla looked sharp up front, and I think it was a tweet from Andy West who suggested that all 4 of La Liga's potential title contenders have actually started with statement wins. So yeah, that is that on Sevilla versus Rayo. Rayo's comeback into La Liga was obviously not pleasant, a 3-0 drubbing. Michael, how did you see this game?
Yeah, I thought, obviously it's really hard to assess Rayo, and they spent so long with the game with 10 men. But for like the first, 15 minutes when they actually had 11 men, I thought it was quite interesting how high they were trying to press Sevilla and just stop them getting out in this kind of 4-2-4 shape, which just shows like they're going to be honest to themselves. Basically, they're going to stick to what they were good at in Segunda, which is pressing teams and being really intense, which is quite promising to see. Because they're not going to try and just sit back like kind of Elche. But yeah, it was quite interesting to see Sevilla in a 3 at the back. Maybe that was a kind of tactic to kind of help them break Rayo's press, almost kind of an extra man. But yeah, to be honest, like I was just expecting a Sevilla win. I really do have doubts about whether Rayo can stay up. I don't think the quality's there. The red card, there's not too much else to add for me.
All right. Charlie, anything else to add on the Sevilla game?
Michael pretty much hit the nail on the head with talking about how Rayo came out, pressed early, went down a man. I mean, I was looking super forward to analyzing Rayo and seeing how they did in the La Liga. And Lucas Zidane just kind of blew it. I mean, that was just such a poor play. Like, goalkeepers, you don't take out the man like that. I mean, you go down a man and you can – it's just a lose-lose. I mean,
yeah,
just so poor from him. And, I mean, disappointing not to be able to get, like, an actual good look at what Rayo are capable of in this league. I mean, if they can continue like they did in that first 15 minutes, they definitely have a shot at staying up. Sevilla, I hate Eric Lamela. It just sucks to see him do well. Just he's like such a. I'm not going to get into it, but so yeah, 2 goals from him. I don't know how he does that, because I mean, he didn't really do that with Tottenham. But hey,
he's the type of person that you'd hate to play against, because you just get under your skin so much. Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah, if Lopetegui can get the best out of him, I mean. He signed him for a reason. I mean, and that's a statement from both Lopetegui and Lamela. I mean, 2 goals on the opening match there. That's very impressive.
Yeah. I don't think we should obviously look, Lamela coming and Hill going is kind of underwhelming, because like the age profile, the fact that Hill was like so promising, but like Monchi still kind of, he knows what he's doing. I'm not trying to say have blind faith in him, but he would have seen Lamela, he would have thought, what can this guy bring to the team? He's got that kind of gritty determination almost, which Sevilla, they didn't really have. But, when things got hot towards the end of last season, they did kind of not collapse, but they didn't do as well as we thought we would. Obviously, look, Lamella's not going to become this one-man army. He's going to carry them to La Liga, but maybe he kind of instills a bit more of a, we're going to fight rather than just fall down almost.
All right. Claudio Bravo is not in La Liga right now, right? Is he? Did he start for Betis? Oh, he's at Betis. Okay. Did he start for Betis? Okay. So interesting trivia. Since Ter Stegen is also injured, name the two goalkeepers who have a Champions League winning medal who played on match week 1.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got like about 5 to 6 seconds more to answer this.
Where was it?
It's not Courtois.
I think it's
not...
Kiko Garcia. Yeah, for Elche.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, all right. I think I messed up the question. There are actually 3. They're not 2. They're actually 3. You still you can name just one more. That's gonna be fine.
Lucas Zidane? Was he?
Yes, he has one. Yeah. So Kiko Casilla, Diego Lopez, and Lucas Zidane. They have more Champions League medals than all La Liga goalkeepers combined, including Thibaut Courtois and Jan Oblak. So that can be a stat that seems fake but true. Zidane used to take it doesn't matter if you're injured, suspended. He used to take everyone in the roster to the Champions League finals. So Lucas Zidane has a medal.
I was going to say, because he did not play enough ever to get the Champions League.
I bet he's got his dad's medal. It's not even his. It's his dad's.
I think he played one La Liga game when Zidane came back in 18-19. I think in the last game he started Lucas Zidane or something like that. He played one game in La Liga before playing with Rayo. All right, guys. We have just a couple more games. We're almost up on time as well. Let's quickly go over those two: Villarreal Granada and Elche Athletic Bilbao. Both games underwhelming nil draws. The Villarreal game did have a red card as well. Let's just kind of go through both of these games at once. Starting with Villarreal, of course, which I was a tad disappointed at them. I expected them to have a better start, but then again, Granada are no pushovers themselves. I think Granada did well themselves, but none of these two games yielded into any goals. I'll start with Charlie on this one. Any comments on Villarreal, Granada, and also Elche Bilbao?
I'm surprised you're not happy with Granada grabbing a point. I mean, you did have them finishing.
Okay, yeah.
Tactical genius.
I also had Villarreal stepping into the top 4, so they lost 2 points for that.
Forgot about that. I was really surprised with Granada's defensive solidity. I mean, they played very well, absorbed all of Villarreal's pressure. Quickly, Dia and Gerard Moreno seem to be forming this great tandem partnership up top. The way Dia moves into space and Moreno can drop off, and his passing range is just so excellent. One thing I love about Dia is whenever you see him up top, he'll move into where his nearest defender, he'll move into their blind spot as quickly as possible. And he'll just be moving all across the back line. When they shift, new guy picks him up, he's in their blind spot every time. And it just always makes them have to check their shoulder, find where he is, and then he can move wherever he needs to, because he and Gerard Moreno do so well. And he'll move in behind, and Moreno will drop off to drag the center backs out. We saw it with Villarreal created a chance. Was it Gerard Moreno? Gerard Moreno's chip. The ball from Raba. Dia moves out to the right wing and creates this massive gap for the ball to go straight to Gerard Moreno, making a run in behind. Just excellent play. Those two will, I think, form this great partnership this season. I cannot wait to see how they do. In terms of Elche Athletic, I don't have much to say. Lucas Boye did actually quite well. I was surprised, given that he's always so isolated. Athletic Club, a little bit disappointing because I also had high expectations for them. I know Michael did as well. Oyan Sunset, I really like the way he played. I mean, he's both a creator and a finisher up top, which is not a profile you really see too much anymore. He's kind of like a false nine playing alongside a traditional striker. Other than that, I mean, Marcelino has to be disappointed with this performance, but there's a lot of time to rectify what you've got. And I would love to see if Athletic Club tries to do anything in this transfer window. Obviously, they have their own set policy, but I think any sort of bolstering their attack would be helpful, because I'm not too confident in Inaki Williams, Villalibre, Raul Garcia, Sunset, even just bagging too many goals this season. I believe their top scorer last season was Berenguer with 7 maybe. So I don't know what this squad needs. Maybe it's more creative. Maybe it's people to get the ball to these attackers in the final third. I don't know, but just pretty disappointed with how they performed today.
All right. Over to you, Michael.
Yeah, I think I'll try and take both games together because I like Charlie did, because I feel like there's similar things here. So maybe obviously Villarreal are quite a few steps ahead of Athletic in terms of their development, but Villarreal should be finishing European spaces and they just didn't manage to finish off Granada, and obviously that speaks to how well Granada did. But I thought Villarreal, other than the kind of Dia and Moreno dynamic, it was just a bit underwhelming, to be honest. And kind of the same with Athletic. I think I completely agree with Charlie about their attacking options. I think that Raul Garcia, Inaki Williams, Villalibre and Sanchez are all very good players who could support a goal scorer, but I don't think they're the goal scorer. For example, you could have Inaki Williams running off someone or playing. He kind of holds up the ball for, maybe runs off the defense and then plays the final ball to the goal scorer. You have Raul Garcia / Villalibre / Sanchez as the kind of target man to a proper goal scorer, but they're not really the guy. So I think I completely agree about Charlie how they need to find just a more attacking edge, because they just were really underwhelming. It didn't create. Looking at the game, you would have thought that Elche were their equals, because they really were. I was really impressed with Lucas Boyer. I thought he did a really good job, but he just wasn't a good watch, to be honest.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, listeners and viewers, we have done our entire review of La Liga match day 1. It was interesting. We got through talking about a lot of things, and we do plan on doing this after every match day. Hopefully we get to do that throughout the season and bring you all these details, all this different dynamics that each game goes through. 1 down, 37 more to go. We will see you in the next episode one more time. Until then, I do thank Charlie and Michael for joining today, and we'll see everyone on the next episode. Take care, everyone.